was smacking, grinding of teeth, super ultra creepy. I mean, you want to know what the guy feels like, you know, in the fictitious, not really fictitious, that's why they said bye-bye Kubrick, Eyes Wide Shut, when he stumbles into the satanic meeting and they're all acting really weird and creepy. I've been there, okay? The only difference is they don't have supermodels in there having orgies, okay? Well, I guess they do have male supermodels in there having orgies with them. That's what's going on. And again, I was in there 4 hours being whistled at. Mike was there with me. That's why we finally had to hide in the woods. I guess we were, go back 12 years ago, I was about 60 pounds lighter than I got when I got fat and ugly. But the point is that Mike and I were being whistled at like it was Pepe Le Pew, you know, the skunk that chases everybody and chases the cat around, the black and white cat. It was like that. Pepe Le Pew was chasing us. Old men were whistling. Greens workers were laughing at us. And I knew a little bit about it, and I figured out by the end that's why we were able to stay in there. We got questioned by Secret Service and others, and we just said, oh, we're with this certain camp because we knew enough about the lore. We had an inside source. But I knew our time was running out, so we hid out till it got dark. Sure enough, the ritual happened, as it does every year, July 15th, and we got out of there. And then somebody broke in and got the footage. We'd already made copies. Then we mailed that copy. We'd already made a copy of that, and they erased that. I mean, it was crazy. And I got some death threats over it. But here is Newt Gingrich. In fact, I'm going to play it later. Oh, wait. I don't think Luke bleeps the President Nixon taking the Lord's name in vain. I know that offends a lot of people, including myself, because I'm God-fearing. It doesn't mean sometimes if I don't stub my toe, I don't say something I shouldn't. The point is that check that Radowski video, because I think he leaves Nixon's GDs in there. And so we have to find that spot and just fade it down during that when we do play that. So we've got that coming up, because it's a great video because it illustrates all of Newt Gingrich's lies. I mean, he's just there saying, you're crazy, he doesn't exist. We have footage of him, photos of him there, and we have all these other world leaders talking about it. I only wish Luke would have used the David Gergen confrontation video I've got, where David Gergen doesn't deny he goes and doesn't deny the ritual and gets threatening. This is the Karl Rove to 5 administrations. Okay, let me go ahead and get into the really hardcore news. Iran is run by a theocracy. Iran is funding Hezbollah in kind of a stalemate against Israel. Israel's funding domestic groups inside Iran trying to overthrow them. They've done it a couple times the last few years. The U.S., the people that run the U.S. are involved as well. People that run Israel are involved. And that's the big mega banks and oil companies, because they ran Iran in the 20s, 30s, and 40s up into the early 50s and really enslaved the people there. Mohammad Mossadegh gets elected. He's pro-West, anti-communist. And he says, listen, we're going to keep 25% of our oil money to build up Iran. And they said, no, you're going to give Anglo-American Oil, well, it's BP today, you're going to give us all the money. You get nothing. And he said, no, we're going to get 25%. Come on, that's what you standard give a private landowner. You can read his letters in America. We just want 25%. And so they funded the Muslim, quote, extremists, Shiites in this case, who runs Iran today, to overthrow him. And they did it by blowing up mosques, shooting groups of protesting Shiite clerics and people, and then they blamed it on Mossadegh, and that's declassified. It's called Operation Ajax. You can just type it in, pull it up. It's NPR, AP, Reuters. Herman Roosevelt wrote a best-selling book on it before he died in the late 90s. He was a CIA section chief. He led the CIA / MI6 team in '53 to do it. They printed out tens of thousands of handbills where Mossadegh took credit for it. They overthrew him, executed his entire leadership, put him on house arrest for the rest of his life, and double-crossed the Shiites and put the Shah in, the little prince. They set up Savak. Over the years, 1 million people disappeared, tortured, raped, death, killing. The Iranians, needless to say, got mad. And the Shiites were double-crossed and were double devil mad. And then down the road, late 1970s, the Shah's unpopular. He's actually building the country up, though. He thinks the West is double-crossing him. He starts doing deals with Italy, starts doing some deals with Russia. He gets a 24-hour cancer. You know, things get overthrown. He goes to France, dies of a cancer. They fly in Ayatollah Khomeini. The government on record did, Western governments. They give him weapons deals. They do this hostage deal to blame Carter as a double cross. Then they give him the weapon systems. It's called Iran-Contra. Now, I don't know if the mullahs are still, quote, working with the West, but there's some weird back channels and double deals going on. If you don't believe me, you can pull up AP, Houston Chronicle, Wall Street Journal, New York Times from 2007 and 8. That guys, just type this in. Halliburton given a waiver to sell oil field equipment to Iran. When they have sanctions for decades that nobody can sell oil field equipment and refinery equipment to Iran. That's why they've got more oil than they can shake a stick at, but they can't refine even half of what they need for gasoline. So they sell raw oil to China and others in Europe, and they get back gasoline. And the embargo is saying you're not going to sell oil and you're not going to ship gasoline in. That's what they're trying to set up right now that is an act of war. So Cheney has this deal that he had when he was the CEO and then after, where only Halliburton can sell him oil field equipment at about, the report said, about 10 times what it was actually worth. And Halliburton technicians are in Iran still. I mean, so there's some weird hanky-panky going on. You know, the CIA and the globalists aren't just in control of the Saudi Arabian Wahhabists. And, of course, they are in control of those guys and give them Libya and trying to give them Syria and everything else. I mean, this is happening everywhere. And it just goes on and on and on. So I don't know how deep the ties are. I don't know how scripted this is. There's a lot of double and triple crossing. I mean, look at bin Laden worked for the U.S. publicly. Saddam did. I mean, there's always double crossing. You don't know. There's no honor amongst these people. So you have no idea with the globalists and their minions what's happening. All I know is that there's a real war inside Iran right now, blowing up military bases, blowing up missile bases, blowing up police headquarters, blowing up police universities, blowing up intelligence agency universities, assassinating people. And Israel has now come out and admitted in their newspapers, yeah, we're doing it, which is a provocation. And Iran says, okay, we're going to start targeting Israelis all over the world. Now, sure, that plan to try to kill a Saudi ambassador in D.C., that turned out to be staged, but and Iran said it was. But now they're saying, okay, we'll go ahead and do it. Now, what happens... Guys, the atomic clock fell down off the wall. Will you put that back up for me? I want to get that mounted. That guy keeps, I don't know what's going on with him. Maybe he's with Al-Qaeda, that evil clock. I'll have to have another drink of Tangy Tangerine to make it all better. All of this is going on. All of this is happening. And now Iran says they're going to start striking back, which makes this war become 2 minutes to midnight. And they're threatening to block the strait. They're threatening to attack other targets. They're threatening to attack Tel Aviv. U.S. troops by the thousands are landing in Israel. The point is, this is all accelerating towards war. And the Iranian people, in major polls, over 70% on average, are fans of the U.S. They're smart people. They know our politicians have taken over. They know we've been hijacked. They know most of us don't want war with them. They know their mullahs are out of control, and they just want to have good jobs and good lives and go to the movies with their children. And it is going to be a horrible crime against Iran to attack them in a giant bombardment. It's going to spray radiation from these bases being bombed that are full of uranium all over the world. It is going to undoubtedly make the mullahs go from being unpopular to being extremely popular. And the Iranians, just like Americans would when they're under attack, are going to line up behind the government and are going to go to full war with the West. And the criminals that run the West are going to use that as a pretext to take all of our basic liberties and freedoms. That's what's happening. Let's go ahead and go to Darren McBreen's Man on the Street. Do Americans want war with Iran? Here's that piece.
War in the Middle East now appears imminent as the United States, Britain, the European Union, and Israel put the final touches on an embargo on Iran, and warships are sailing to the Persian Gulf. Last Friday, the U.S. and Israel announced that they will have a massive exercise in the Persian Gulf. It will include thousands of U.S. and Israeli soldiers and will test multiple air defense systems against incoming missiles and rockets. Meanwhile, Iran will also be conducting war games in the Persian Gulf and have already launched a military maneuver near its border with Afghanistan. Now, there's a lot of war games going on in the Persian Gulf. The United States, Israel are participating in a massive war game. Iran at the same time. Could that be a recipe for disaster?
I think there's a lot of war games that go on all the time of different sizes. I don't know if this is much different.
I don't know if disaster is the word, but I think you're not in a good situation right now.
Should we intervene for Israel? Don't you think Israel has a capability of protecting themselves?
I definitely think there's a case to defend Israel for what it is. Might not be the strongest case, but should we invade Iran for Israel? No, I think that's a weaker case.
I feel like Israel can take care of themselves, but it doesn't hurt to have somebody backing you up.
Well, it's not about weapons of mass destruction and nuclear bomb. It's all about natural gas and oil. America have the oil and Iran have the natural gas, and that's what America wants, and we all know that. But the media is liars, and they tell us all lies, and we just got to go with the lies because they have the power to spread the lies.
Presidential candidate Ron Paul said the increasingly severe sanctions imposed on Iran in response to its alleged nuclear weapons program are steps that will eventually lead to war.
The first thing you do when you go to war, you put boycotts on them and you blockade a country. It is, in many ways, an act of war. We assume that we have to do it through force, through sanctions and threats and intimidation and secret maneuvers to overthrow their regime. It just doesn't work.
I think we're punishing them. I think it's retributive, definitely. Whether or not it's with the aim of pushing them into open war with us, I don't know.
I feel like if you're just pressing somebody, you're only going to push them more the other direction anyway.
I think that the U.S. has been provoking a lot of people for a long time.
I just think sometimes the United States needs to worry about the United States.
You know, it's really not that many differences between us and them if you really think hard about it.
The people, or would that be the government?
No, the people. I'm talking about the ordinary Iranians are very different from the image that we have of the Iranian government.
Well, what do you think is going to happen to oil prices if there is a conflict?
Well, definitely the oil price is going to go up because Iran going to hold on to the oil. The Middle East have the most oil, as we know, as a fact.
Do you think our economy could take it?
Not right now. The economy is falling, the dollar is dying, everything is, going deteriorating, and there's no solution right now.
I mean, I feel like any major conflicts in the world right now are going to keep impacting the declining economy.
Are you concerned that something bad's going to happen out there?
Not I am. We all should be concerned. The whole world should be concerned because it's not about us, it's about the whole world.
Now, President Obama is prepared to use military force to prevent Iran from acquiring a nuclear weapon. And that's if sanctions and so-called diplomacy fail. I'm Darren McBreen for InfoWars Nightly News.
All right, great job there with Darren. We premiered that report that he shot yesterday with people out on the streets of Austin, Texas. And we're going to have some more reports, obviously, tonight, 7 o'clock Central. At InfoWarsNews.com. So here we are.